At the Whitehart mansion, it was late at night, and Camden Whitehart was reviewing some documents for their upcoming plans. Suddenly, he was alerted by one of the stone-looking artifacts as he looked up. Louis. He stood up immediately. He remembered when he asked James Rothschild for a few S-rank hunters for the safety of the vault, even though it was only for a few days. So instead of a few S-rank hunters, James sent his younger brother, Louis Rothschild. Because Louis was an S+ rank hunter, Camden didn't say much and allowed him to manage the security of the 4th level. However, he provided Louis with a communication artifact that could be used if something happened. He knew Louis would likely not need it, but he still gave him one. Now that Louis was using this artifact, he immediately picked it up. This one-way signaling artifact was used in extreme environments within high-ranking dungeons to locate allies, contemporary romance. Seeing the stone lit up, Camden immediately tried to contact his security team in the underground facility, but no reply came. He quickly grabbed his coat, which was lying on the couch, and left his room. What's happening? Camden Whitehart immediately went towards where he had placed the portal to directly enter the facility. Inside the underground facility, several minutes had already passed, and Louis was standing alone in one spot. After contacting the mansion, he also contacted James Rothschild using another artifact he had. "What did you say?" James asked in a loud voice. "I failed," Louis spoke, then through the communication artifact. "Louis." James's voice came out of the artifact, but he ignored it. His mind was scattered, unsure of how to describe the situation to Camden, who was on his way here, and James, who would probably come. Far from the underground facility, 3 masked figures appeared out of nowhere near some mountains. What? Dane looked all around him. They were in some kind of forest. "How?" Kai, struggling to stand, muttered. But Dane immediately turned towards Asher, who was on the ground, breathing heavily. "Boss." Dane tried to help Asher but was stopped. "No need," Asher muttered as he sat on the ground. He felt the same heaviness he had experienced the first time he used this ability, and it was a sensation he didn't like. "Your face," Kai said, but he stopped midway. Touching his face, Asher removed broken pieces of the mask with his hand. Then, he took out an A-rank healing potion and poured it on his face. His face started burning as the mana inside the healing potion began to heal the multiple wounds on his face. Less than "Hey, what happened?" Greater than. Tom's loud voice echoed in their ears. "We are fine," Dane replied, though he himself was confused. The last 2 minutes hadn't made sense to him. AD rank hunter fighting an S+ rank hunter and teleporting to this unknown place was beyond his comprehension. He wanted to ask Asher but wasn't sure if it was the right time. Both of them had felt the killing intent emanating from Asher during his fight with Louis, and it wasn't comforting. Kai now understood why Dane would have found Asher dangerous. If Asher could fight an S+ rank hunter, it made sense. "Where are we, Tom?" Asher asked, ignoring the pain on his face. Tom immediately traced the communication devices on them and delivered his answer. "Less than you are 300 km northeast from my location greater than." Asher looked up at the sky as he heard Tom's voice. "Both of you go back and bring the bikes and Tom here immediately," Asher ordered. But Dane was unsure if he should leave Asher in his current state. Asher looked at Dane, his eyes shining in the moonlight. "Okay," Dane agreed, somewhat nervously. Though Kai was tired, Dane could carry him, and he would recover quickly. "We'll go," Dane said as he hoisted Kai onto his back. Asher watched as the two of them disappeared. He then brought out his phone. "You removed the footage, right?" Asher asked. "Less than yes, boss. Only Louis Rothschild should know about you 3 greater than." "Okay. Destroy the security system and remove all traces of your activity," Asher ordered before switching off his communication device. He closed his eyes as he lay down on the ground in the middle of some unknown forest in Desmar. It's just the beginning, Asher muttered. This mission was merely to make the presence of Zephyr, the name Asher had given his group, known. He looked at the necklace he was wearing. Escape of Night Dream. Rank SS, Mass Teleportation Artifact. Description. This special necklace allows the wearer to teleport to engraved coordinates. Pipe. Limitations. Can only teleport up to 10 people. Limitations. Coordinates must be engraved on the back of the necklace to teleport to that location. Limitations. Can only be used twice a week. Asher gripped the necklace in his hands. Although it had helped him greatly, part of him wanted to destroy it because it was connected to a very important memory from his previous life. But he didn't. This time, it was in his hands. Just like the other artifact he stole. This heist was crucial to dismantling the Whiteheart family reputation and diverting their attention from Asher's future plans. I wonder how you will explain my presence, Asher thought about Louis. He was sure that Louis could guess it was he whom he had fought, but he would not be able to prove it. And Asher didn't care if Louis knew about him because it made Louis easier to control going forward. The people he wanted to bring down were currently those sitting at the top of society. But, unlike his previous life, where those people knew they were fighting him, this time, they didn't. Asher was an unknown enemy to them, and he was going to use this to his advantage. Camden Whiteheart, it's a pity I can't see your expressions, Asher spoke to himself. But I hope you like the gift I left, he said as he closed his eyes. His inner madness was calm right now. Asher had killed many people during this mission, so he could rest peacefully for now. This was the start of the chaos Asher was about to bring to this world. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Within a few minutes, Camden arrived inside the 5th level, where he saw the vault was still present. What happened here? He looked around and saw that the 5th level was under emergency lockdown. Camden Whiteheart tapped on one of the devices he had brought with him. Less than master access granted. Merging the 5th level with the 4th level greater than he heard the robotic voice as he took control of the security system. Tom didn't interfere in this, as Asher had told him to remove all his traces. So far, Camden hadn't found anything strange. He went towards the 5th level entrance, where he saw the broken metal cage. He immediately spread his mana around the facility and sensed Louis standing on the 3rd level. It didn't take him long to arrive in front of Louis, and while doing so, he saw many corpses of people that belonged to the Rothschild family. He was confused but knew that his answers lay with Louis Rothschild, and he soon arrived in front of Louis Rothschild, who was standing on the 3rd level. What happened? Camden asked, and Louis looked at him. I apologize, Louis said, knowing the fault would be placed on him. The vault was looted. His words made Camden frown, as only he could open the vault. Boom! Are you sure? Camden was speaking when he heard the sound of a blast coming from the 5th level. It was the last gift from Asher to Camden. Whiteheart. A rune-destroying bomb that he had brought for the vault and another special item beside it. Camden immediately rushed towards the vault, but when he arrived, he only saw a single word engraved on the wall next to the vault. Zephyr. Camden said as he read the text, but this was not his primary concern. He turned his face, his expression turning grim. The security runes on the vault had been triggered, and now the authorities of Kalwaz Gala were on their way to this place to question him about this. At the facility owned by the Whiteheart family, many SS rank hunters were present. Most represented the authorities behind the Kalwaz Gala, but one of them was James Rothschild, who was looking at Louis right now. So, you are saying some rank hunter and some D-rank bastard looted the vault? He shouted at Louis. No. It was Asher Greville. I am trying to tell you that bastard injured me, Louis said, but James Rothschild released his mana pressure and brought him to his knees. Have you gone senile? James shouted. Not only he, but others present there had the same thoughts. So not only was the underground facility breached, but Louis was blaming the kid who was supposed to be at World Academy right now. Sir Louis, are you saying that AD rank hunter managed to injure you? One of the SS rank hunters stepped forward and asked Louis. Aye. Louis didn't know how to explain what had happened to all the men present there. Just believe me, I don't know how he got the strength, but I remember those eyes, Louis spoke, but he stopped when he felt James's killing intent. They could have used some sort of artifacts. Your accusations make no sense to us, the SS rank spoke and turned towards Cumden, who was standing there completely silent. Lord Cumden, if I am not mistaken, you were the only one who knew about the unique mana pattern of the vault. He asked. Cumden stared at the SS rank hunter, standing fearlessly before him. Yes, and what are you trying to imply? Cumden asked, and the tension between the people present there grew. Personally, I refuse to believe that some random A-rank hunters opened the vault that is considered one of the masterpieces of the Artisans Association, another stepped in. He was wearing glasses and a black suit, and he was one of the higher-ups that worked closely with the 7 heads of the Kalwas Gala. And they managed to take out some artifacts without even triggering the security runes, he said. Cumden stared at the man. Then, finally, he stepped forward and looked him in the eye. Are you saying that I orchestrated all this? Cumden spoke as he glared at the man wearing the glasses. And killed all my rank hunters present here. And for what reason? Cumden asked. Calm down, Lord Cumden. We are not accusing you, but nothing Sir Louis said makes sense to us as well, he replied, looking straight at Cumden Whiteheart. The man in the glasses turned as he saw one of his team members coming back towards him. What did you find there? He asked. There was text engraved that said, Zephyr, and some traces of rune-destroying bombs, the man replied. Cameron, I think we should discuss this issue with all the 7 heads, a man stepped up and spoke to the man in the glasses. But I am still not done here, Cameron replied. You were talking about some drugs that affected your mana, right? Cameron asked Louis. Yes, Louis replied. Search for any traces of poison or drugs and take the samples, Cameron instructed his team. But the search was useless. The drug had already disappeared by now as the components that made the drug had dissipated into the air. And those injected with the poison in the syringe were going through the same phenomena. It was a drug that was made to dissolve in the mana present in the air or the mana present in the body. It was one of the reasons Asher was rushing to escape from Louis, who would recover completely after some time. Adds by Pub Future. Even with time dilation, there was a chance that Asher would not have been able to fight Louis and escape from him. And Sir Louis, you have to come with us, Cameron said. James wanted to deny Cameron, but the current situation did not help them at all. Even Cumden would have let the situation slide, but the triggering of the security runes alerted the authorities, and now this incident would be known by everyone. Not only did it affect the reputation of the Whiteheart family, but even the Rothschild family's name would be dragged down by this incident. And we will take all the guards that were present here as well, and you try to retrieve any sort of information you can from the security system. Cameron paused and turned towards Cumden. And I hope the Whiteheart family will cooperate with us, he said. Yeah, we will, Cumden replied. But internally, he was full of rage. He couldn't believe that years of hard work in increasing his family's reputation would go down the drain due to one incident. At one point, Cumden wanted to kill Louis for this blunder, but he stopped himself as he knew that the Rothschilds were their best allies after the Williams. After a few more hours, a bunch of people gathered there, all of whom were related to the authorities of the Kalwas Gala. "Do you think Louis Rothschild is lying?" one guy asked Cameron, who was standing far from the facility. "Of course. Do you want me to believe that a 15-year-old managed to fight an S+ rank hunter and escape at the same time?" Cameron replied. "And we have already confirmed that 2 artifacts are missing from the vault," Cameron said. "If Camden Whiteheart had no hand in this, we need to find out who those guys were at all costs," he said. Knowing that the vault was practically impossible to steal from, he understood that whoever those intruders were, they needed to be found soon. "We have locked every teleportation gate around all the cities near here," the guy replied. "But we need to report the situation to the World Association as well," he said. Blocking the teleportation gate in such a manner required permission from both the World Association and the elite families. And they only needed to inform the World Association about this incident. But unfortunately for them, the black market teleportation gate was still operational, and their intruders were heading towards that very teleportation gate. "Should we look into those organizations?" the man asked. Cameron understood what organizations he was talking about but knew it would be futile. "It will be useless. We left them alone for a reason." Cameron, being an SS rank hunter, knew what kind of powers those illegal organizations held. Even though it was not comparable to the top elite families, some of them had powers similar to some elite families that were not as powerful. But he knew none of them would be foolish enough to do something like this, which garnered the hatred of every elite family. The Kalwas Gala was the gathering of the families that held a seat in the High Council and a few other influential ones. And stealing the artifacts and even leaving a name was a mockery to those who attended the gala. And he was correct. The information about the word, Zephyr, would spread among the upper society. And if anybody knew or was on the same side as this group of intruders, they would know how badly they had messed up. It was one thing if Asher had looted the personal items of the Whiteheart family, but the vault of the Kalwas Gala was an entirely different matter. Asher was on a motorbike, traveling towards the campsite where the teleportation gate was located. Kai was using his ability on them again to ensure no one could spot them. Finally, he had recovered enough, and the artifacts were functioning, so he could use his ability again. After many hours, they arrived at the campsite and, showing their shadow cards, they safely entered. "Wait, stop there," a voice commanded as Asher and his group halted. They were almost at the teleportation gate. Dane, Kai, and Tom grew nervous, thinking that news of their heist might have reached this location and that they were being stopped because of it. "What?" Asher, who remained calm, asked. "That teleportation gate isn't working. Use another one," the man informed them. Dane, Kai, and Tom felt relieved hearing his words, as it wasn't what they had feared. "Which one?" Asher asked, and the man pointed to one on the left. They entered the indicated teleportation gate and soon found themselves in Somalia. Phew! Tom exhaled deeply. The realization that they had arrived safely finally calmed his nerves. However, unlike Dane and Kai, he knew about the next plans Asher had shared with him and was already feeling impending doom. "Return to the mansion, and we'll head to the dungeon," Asher instructed Tom, who nodded in response. They had only spent around 3 days on their journey, so they still had some time left. "Let's hit level 30, Asher thought, reflecting on his failure to achieve level 30. "Status," Asher commanded, examining his current status. "Fate Devourer System. Name, Asher von Ravengrevel. Level, 29, EXP 8000 and 29,000. Bloodline, Devil's Absorption rank SSS. Cursed, Curse of Fate, active. Body Constitution, Mana Core rank D. Attributes. Strength, 115. Agility, 110. Endurance, 85. Intelligence, 180. Mana, 119. Stamina, 73. Contemporary romance. Charm, 65. Fate, 10,230. AP, 40 plus 20. SP, 24 plus 8. Skills, time dilation, rank S, LVL1. Absorption, rank S, LVL1. Mana flow, rank A. Mana circulation, rank A. Rune of Airden, rank D. Node art, rank SSS. Aura force passive skill, mere steps. Node art, mere steps. Swift strike, phantom strike. Beast, locked. Mastery, node art, novice, minus 27%. Magic, novice, minus 84%. Rune art, fundamental, minus 80%. At the dungeon owned by the Abyss Guild. Young Master is still inside, right? Dane asked, standing in front of the manager. Yeah, we haven't disturbed them, the manager replied. He had no clue that Asher was not even present inside the dungeon this whole time. Good job. I will go inside now, Dane said as he flared his mana. The mana readings will become a mess, the manager tried to tell him, but he was already inside the dungeon. Damn it, these hard-headed guys, the manager told himself as he went to check the mana reading device. Phew. Dane looked behind him as Asher and Kai became visible. Should we go back? Dane asked Asher. Their mission was done, and Dane wanted to rest for a bit as he had a few injuries himself that needed time to heal. The damage done to his body, which took direct impact from Louis, was greater than what Asher had endured. Unlike Asher, Dane's speed was not enough to dodge Louis's attack, and this resulted in him taking multiple hits from Louis. No, I will clear this dungeon, Asher replied, but the tiredness was hitting him. This made Dane and Kai confused, but they couldn't ignore Asher's orders. But we will rest for a day before I clear this dungeon, Asher said, looking at Kai and Dane. He knew that even though they were professional killers, they needed rest and Asher was in no hurry as well. He needed multiple D-rank monsters to raise his level as well. And judging by his current condition, he needed rest as well. Time dilation was not like other skills that Asher used in his life. Even though fighting for long tired your body, the fatigue came from his physical body. It was not something simple like regenerating your mana by using your mana circulation technique. What Asher was feeling was that his whole existence was tired. His thoughts, his body, his soul, he could feel the burden on all of them. It was the only downside of using the skill that Asher knew. It was not something he would ever use in a prolonged fight. It was a trump card he only brought out if the situation had gone out of hands and his chances of winning were too low. It's better than mana doping, Asher thought in his mind as three of them turned to leave. The after effects of mana doping affected his whole body, breaking it down slowly the more he used it. They stepped out of the dungeon and saw the manager who was looking around the mana reading device, but he stopped immediately as he saw Asher coming out of the dungeon. Welcome back, young master, he greeted Asher with a smile on his face. We will use the dungeon again after resting for a day, Asher looked at the manager. Ah, yes, as you wish. I will make sure nobody enters until you are finished, he replied, but seeing Asher's emotionless face made him a bit comfortable. The three of them went towards the VIP lounge that was not far from here. Ads by Pub Future. Asher arrived at the special room that was quite big, and he immediately removed his shirt and went for a shower. Although the manager didn't notice because it was normal for hunters to smell of blood, Asher was reeking of blood right now. Kai had used water magic to cleanse Dane, but he didn't perform it on Asher who denied it. Asterisk 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 asterisk. You keep saying the same goddamn thing. James shouted at Louis. Did encountering that Greville bastard make you so miserable that you cannot differentiate reality from your delusions? James said. Louis just held his head down the whole time. He knew that nobody would believe him. I looked into your interactions the past 6 months, James spoke, and Louis immediately raised his head. I saw that you interacted with the younger sister of the Hargrave family head. His words made Louis clench his fist. And your little attempt to send spies to Somalia, do you think I am dumb? James said. He already knew that Louis was still not over the embarrassment he had received at the party hosted by the Greville. James was a clever man, so he made sure that he kept eyes on the movement of the people close to him. Knowing his little brother, and how much he lacked self-control over his emotions, he knew that Louis would do something stupid. But knowing that he was not doing something too openly, he had ignored it until now. But seeing that he was blaming his own inability to protect the facility on someone like Asher Greville made him angry. After a few hours, Louis was currently with Cameron and they were trying to send this news to all the remaining 6 heads of the Kalwas Gala about this heist that happened. So Sir Louis, do you remember anything else than what you have already told us? Cameron asked Louis. They were sitting in an empty room that only had one single exit. Knowing Louis's status, Cameron could not arrest him usually, but the matter was grave enough that James himself allowed the interrogation to happen. No, Louis replied. You bastards wouldn't believe me either way, he said to himself. But even Louis was thinking over his claims right now. At this moment, he was not 100% sure that the gaze he saw belonged to Asher. Even to him, he had no clue how Asher had managed to match speed with an S+ rank hunter. The interrogation ended shortly after, and Cameron left the room. He was on his way to the White Hart mansion with the people that managed the Kalwas Gala. They needed to question Camden, and many more things were also going to happen. Asterisk 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 asterisk. It was the next day, and Asher wore his nano armor as he stood up to go inside the dungeon once again. Although not fully recovered, he was sure he was ready to reach level 30 today. Entering the dungeon with Kai, as Dane was still resting, Asher went inside and started killing the D-rank monsters. This dungeon was filled with 4-legged beast-type monsters that were less agile than the Kirans he had previously faced, but they were more powerful. However, for Asher, they were not too hard to defeat. He only needed to defeat 42 such monsters to reach level 30, but Asher was not rushing it. Each time he killed a monster, he would absorb their stats with his bloodline ability. It was a great chance to reach the peak of D rank, as he was close to becoming a D+ rank hunter. His mana and strength stats were close to 120, which he believed were the stats of talented D+ rank hunters. He based that assumption by comparing his current strength with what he had achieved in his previous life. His agility was also not far from 120, so he knew that he had almost become a D+ rank hunter, except his body was still a bit behind as his other stats like endurance and stamina were below 100. But he knew that they would increase gradually as his body absorbed all the mana that his core produced. It was a slow process, but due to his multiple mana-related skills, his growth was much faster than his peers. And that was also the case in his previous life. Even though he had lost his S-rank mana manipulation bloodline, he still retained the mana flow skill. Asher touched the first beast he killed, and he saw the notifications on his screen. Host has absorbed 2 strength stats. Host has gained 500 express. Some of the beasts were not peak D rank, so they did not give him any sort of experience. And when Asher asked the system, it replied that only beings that were above the current rank of the host would give experience. Even if it was a minor rank, Asher needed to defeat peak D rank monsters 42 times to reach level 30. It will take me a day, Asher thought in his mind. Host has absorbed 2 strength stats. Host has gained 500 express. Host has absorbed 1 strength stat. Host has gained 500 express. Host has absorbed 3 endurance stats. Host has gained 500 express. Host has absorbed 3 endurance stats. Host has gained 500 express. Host has absorbed 2 endurance stats. Host has gained 500 express. Host has absorbed 2 endurance stats. ... After many hours of hunting in the dungeon, Asher finally reached level 30. He knew he was close to becoming level 30, so he had already sent Kai away from his position. And knowing Asher's strength, Kai easily obeyed his command. Host has reached level 30. Beast is unlocked. Asher felt a feeling of unknown energy appearing around his body, moving from one place to another. He could feel it and it stopped around his arm as a black tattoo appeared in front of it. A snake. Asher muttered as he saw a snake tattoo. He hadn't expected the beast to be a snake, but he didn't know it was not any ordinary snake. How will it come out? Asher asked the system. It will take 1 week for the beast to materialize. And system will go under maintenance for a week. Asher squinted his eyes as this was not something he had expected when he thought of reaching level 30, contemporary romance. He had thought that he would instantly receive his rewards, but looking at it now, it seemed it was not the case. Looking at the latest notifications from the system, Asher moved further into the dungeon. He didn't know why the system needed time, but he didn't mind waiting. Asher killed the monster, blood spurted all over him. Feeling that he had reached the peak of D rank, and as a D+ rank hunter, he could finally begin to advance to C rank. It would be better at the World Academy, he thought, turning to leave the dungeon. Though he could reach C+ rank outside of the World Academy, the mana quality and environment was superior there. Hence, it made sense to postpone it until he arrived at the World Academy. There were still some days left in his allotted time outside of the World Academy, but Asher decided to return now that he had accomplished everything he planned to do. Staying outside no longer served any purpose to him. I should work on the black element, Asher muttered, exiting the dungeon. Although he still had one skill that Helena had taught him, there was much more to the black element present in the Great Library. That was his next goal. In his previous life, he had felt it was a waste of his potential that he never really learned any techniques related to his element affinity. Even his sword art didn't involve any element at all. For example, Nathan used a bit of space element in his sword art, but most of it was wind element. However, Asher had never used the elements he had an affinity for in his previous life. Instead of elements, Asher used pure mana in each of his sword techniques. Although he couldn't recall now, he still remembered the inspiration behind it. Asher exited the dungeon with Kai and saw Dane waiting for them. What did they do inside? The manager thought, noticing Asher covered in blood. I guess he really gave it his all inside the dungeon, the manager concluded. In his eyes, Asher, being a D rank hunter, would have had a lot of difficulty hunting in a C rank dungeon because it was filled with D rank monsters. A party full of D rank monsters would be needed to kill all those D rank monsters. We're done here, he'll give the monster corpses to you, Asher said, pointing at Kai. Okay, young master, the manager politely replied. Asher headed towards the car with Dane, and Kai looked at the manager. Here, there are 115 monster corpses in the spatial ring. Where should I put them? Kai asked. You can put them in the storage room. Come, I'll show you, the manager said, although he was initially confused. Did he kill most of them? The manager wondered but refrained from asking. In his mind, a D rank killing around 115 D rank monsters in 5 to 6 days was impossible. But he had heard about the talented Asher Greville. Hardly a person in Somalia didn't know about him. The rumors about Kevin Whiteheart being the prodigy of this generation were thwarted the moment clips of the representative tournament went viral. This assumption led the manager to think that Asher had a solid chance of killing around 50 such monsters on his own. Inside the car, Asher was searching for any news regarding the heist they had committed. So they're hiding the information from the public, Asher thought. Even though the blame lay with the Whitehart family, such news was enough to cause unrest and question the capabilities of the elite families. It was obvious why news about this incident was not made public. Even now, only the seat holders in the High Council were informed about this heist and the word, Zephyr. Asher had predicted such an outcome after the heist, after all. He wanted the name, Zephyr, to become an entity opposing everyone standing at the top of this world. Unlike his previous life where, Zephyr, was a source of fear among others, this time he aimed to go a step further. It didn't take long for Asher to arrive at the World Academy. Before stepping out of the car, he returned the artifacts he had acquired to Kai and Dane. However, he still had the one artifact shaped like an eye with him. It was the very artifact that Asher himself had gone on this mission for. He was confident that this artifact wouldn't be detected by the devices planted all over the World Academy. The source of his confidence came from examining the description of this artifact. Right now, the system wasn't responding to him, and the strange snake tattoo on his right arm had also disappeared after appearing once. He still had many questions, and he knew that some would be answered the moment his system became operational again. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Inside the World Academy, far from the VIP dorms, contemporary romance. Please, I have given, a boy was saying something but he was interrupted when somebody kicked him in the stomach. He grunted in pain as he rolled on the ground. From the corner of his eyes, he could see a green-haired boy looking down at him. At this moment, he wanted to kill this boy, but he was powerless against him. The person beating him was not only stronger than him, but the family he came from was not something he could oppose. Now, don't cry like that, Gavin said with a smile on his face. He crouched down, grabbed the boy's hair, and pulled his face up from the ground. Why me? The boy asked. Why, you ask? Gavin tilted his head with a confused look on his face. I don't know, maybe because I felt like it, Gavin replied, acting like he was thinking hard about it. This crazy bastard, the boy thought to himself. He wasn't the only one that had suffered such treatment at Gavin's hands. There were many others who had endured the same treatment he was getting, but it was the first time Gavin had targeted someone outside his class. The boy he was beating was from class 1. Hey Gavin, you should leave that guy now, one of the seniors standing behind Gavin finally spoke up. Although they were there to support Gavin, as they were ordered to, looking at the boy's condition, one of them became worried. He knew that if Gavin kept beating the boy like that, things could go wrong for them. Here, Gavin looked back as he dropped the boy he was holding. Did I ask for your advice? Gavin said with an annoyed look on his face. These seniors were following him because he was doing a task that Leonard had given him. But seeing that one of them spoke up against him made him irritated. Well, coming back to you, Gavin turned towards the boy, smiling. Tell your friends to give me enough GP for this month, okay? He said. Okay. The boy had no choice but to agree to whatever demands Gavin had for him. Gavin stretched his hands as he left the boy who was wounded all over his body from Gavin's physical attacks. He didn't use mana-induced attacks, so it wasn't against the rules. Asterisk 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 asterisk. In an underground facility. How is the experiment going, Wei Jackson? A man looking around 50 years old with light brown hair and slightly bluish eyes, wearing a black suit, asked. An older man wearing a long white lab coat with silver-rimmed glasses looked at the man on his right and replied. I have been able to increase the efficiency of the mana core by 40%, but the fusion is unstable and its intelligence is also subpar. We just need more humans. I need at least someone on the C rank level. Before Wei Jackson could complete his sentence, the strange creature in front of them started to bloat everywhere. Damn it, another failure, Wei Jackson said with a disappointed look on his face, raising his hands. Suddenly, the bizarre creature stopped moving as water droplets fell from its eyes. Forget about getting new subjects for now. It was so difficult to gather your current subjects, and don't forget we cannot repeat the same method that we used with those Garcia bastards, the man wearing the black suit said to Wei Jackson. I know, but great things require great sacrifices. Wei Jackson looked at the man beside him as he raised his hands. I have secured enough pure mana crystals to continue the current experiments, the man replied. Well, the boosters are almost ready, and we can send them into the markets in the coming year if you want, Wei Jackson replied. Where do you want the supply of the mana crystals to go? The man asked. Wei Jackson thought for a second. I think our base in Fascia would be the right choice, he replied. But when will the supply arrive? He asked politely. Depends, but in half a year, depending on the negotiations with the black market, the man spoke as he stared at the massive facility in front of him. So you are ranked 657? A senior year student asked. Yes, the first year student replied. Sorry, we have no openings, the senior said. You are kidding, right? The student spoke up. He was a first-year student from class 3 who was trying to enter one of the clubs in World Academy. You heard me right. We have no spots, sadly, the senior replied as he stared at the first-year student. Not again, the student said to himself as he turned to go back. He had received a similar response from most private clubs that were also popular inside the World Academy, contemporary romance. And he was not the only one. Many students from the first years were getting similar responses from the seniors. At first, they thought entering the clubs would be easy, but most popular clubs were picky about their members. TCH, why are we getting these useless people to come up all the time? One of the senior year students said. Let's wait for one more hour and if we don't get any good members, let's go back, the other replied. While Asher was outside the World Academy, the first years were finally allowed to access the entirety of World Academy. And most of the first years went to the club registration areas to look around for specific clubs for them to join. A club was a gathering of like-minded people with similar hobbies or goals. The concept was to promote extracurricular activities among students. Not every student was part of a club, but most students were. Clubs were the best options to know senior year students and increase their social connections. Most people, from elite families to rich families, would join such clubs. And most students from a common background did as well. Well, at least we ain't as bad as the Blood Faction or the Student Council, one of them muttered quietly. In the outer sector of World Academy, Asher entered the World Academy, and various devices scanned him for any unauthorized items. After getting past the security, arriving at the ranker's dorm didn't take too long. Arriving at his room, the first thing he did was contact Elsa about his arrival. He connected the video call to Elsa Robles, and after a few seconds, he could see Elsa's face inside the hologram projecting in front of him. Ads by Pub Future. Oh, you arrived early. Elsa asked Asher. Yes, and I will be using this week to increase my rank, Asher spoke. This early? Elsa asked with a confused look. It was already absurd for Asher to reach D rank at his age, but trying to reach C rank was impossible for him in Elsa's mind. Listen, boy, I know you are talented, but rushing such things is not beneficial, Elsa said with a serious look. It's a try, and I would like to proceed with it, Asher replied, using an important keyword in his statement. Try was a word hunters used when they felt like they touched their threshold and used the chance to try and level up. Even if they failed, they would find a new threshold to reach next time. Ranking up was a process of increasing the overall power of one's body. It was a gradual process where you yourself needed to know thresholds and limits. Still, you should wait for some months before doing this, Elsa tried to sway Asher's mind. I have made up my mind, Asher replied. Is his bloodline the source of his confidence? Elsa thought as she stayed silent for a couple of seconds. Well, you can have 2 weeks for your training, and we will send you a C rank mana gem for your rank up, she finally gave Asher consent. Each student could take 2 weeks from their mana core progression every 2 months. Okay. Asher disconnected the call as he stood from the table. He went towards his room and touched his ID bracelet, opening the various articles that were being published in the World Academy. News Club, which was partially under the Student Council, was responsible for covering various news inside the World Academy. As the students were living far from society, it was obvious that they would be interested in what was happening worldwide. So the club recruitments are still going on. Asher thought in his mind as he glanced over several pages. He could see nothing major had happened over the days he was gone. Less than new class schedule. Space Element class is scheduled for Friday, 3 weeks from today greater than. He saw the notification pop up. It was the schedule for the Space Element class, and Asher could imagine why it would take so long for them to schedule this particular class. It was known that those who continued to practice the Space Element would eventually harm their minds so much that their emotions and actions would become uncontrollable and unpredictable. No single sane person was among those who took researching the Space Element seriously. And this was why it was hard to find a teacher among such people. Despite the Space Element being such a self-harming element, there were always people who believed they could master it. One common thing among the people who had an affinity for the Space Element was their confidence in their own ability. After waiting many hours, the C-rank mana gem finally arrived on his flow-through automated delivery, and he took the small case inside the mana meditation room. He was shirtless right now as he opened the case, and a shining blue gem-like crystal was in front of him. But it was much duller than the S-rank mana gem he had used during his awakening. Unlike awakening, where most of the pure mana inside the mana gem was wasted and only used to form a core and open your mana meridians, a normal hunter used this mana gem as a mana source. And Asher was going to do the same thing. However, due to the effect of the SSS rank artifact that made the mana density around the island much thicker, he only needed this mana gem as an extra assurance. He closed the case for now, as it wasn't the time to use it. Instead, his priority was to strengthen his body and increase his stamina. Stamina was one of his lowest stats, and the reason for this was his late awakening. Even though he had ranked up pretty fast, his body had only recently started getting used to such high amounts of mana. And it was one of the stats that could only be increased over time and by training it regularly by pushing your body to the limit. And for the first week, until his system returned, he would focus solely on strengthening his body. It's time, Asher thought as he flared his mana. From the day of his awakening till now, he had made sure that his body strengthened slowly till he reached the peak of D rank. It was one of the reasons that his stamina and endurance stats were behind the others. His mana core formed when he awakened was an A rank core much higher than normal people. Due to this, his mana meridians were overworked from the start, but his new bloodline decreased the strain over time. But now that he had finally reached D rank, he could feel the tension around his mana core had stabilized significantly. His body and mana core were finally balanced, and now he could focus on improving his stamina and endurance alone. And he started it by spreading his mana around the room and absorbing the mana in his surroundings simultaneously. He mimicked the pattern of mana absorption that would happen when a person was fighting. Of course, it was impossible for a normal human, but Asher, who had knowledge from his previous life, could do it. He had already experienced what his body went through during all those battles, so mimicking the mana absorption in that particular state was not that tough for him. He could feel the pause around his body, and his muscles could feel the constant flow of mana around his body. Both his mana-related skills were helping him right now. It was a slow process that would take him days as he would slowly temper his body. And the environment around him was perfect for this kind of training. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Keep targeting the people in Class 1, Leonard said with a bored look. And make sure they feel the source of their suffering is Asher Greville. He raised his eyebrows as he moved a chess piece before him. But how will that help us against him? Jack Alistair asked as he looked at the chessboard in front of him. Jack made his next move and looked back at Leonard. I want to see how he will react when he becomes the source of hatred for everyone around him, Leonard replied. Keep pushing him until I find the things he reacts to, he replied, moving his knight. It's only a matter of time, Leonard said. 3 days had passed since Asher had arrived at the World Academy, and news about Zephyr and the breach at Kalwaz Galar had spread among all the people with the highest standing in society. So you were telling me that the vault, which was supposed to be the best creation of the Artisans Association, was looted? Nathan asked, raising his eyebrows. Yes, and we've informed all the seat holders about this in the words that were left behind by the intruders. The man on the hologram showed Nathan the image of the text, Zephyr. Nathan had an amused look, imagining the reaction of an old friend who was one of the 11 SSS rank hunters now. That guy will be pissed. Nathan knew this incident would make many people point fingers at the Artisans Association. Thanks for your precious time, the man bowed through the screen as the connection was cut off. Inform Arthur about this as well, Nathan told the man standing slightly farther from him. As you wish, Guild Master, the man replied, leaving the room. Zephyr, what kind of stupid group is that? Nathan pondered about the text for a moment. Being old, he knew about all the capable illegal organizations that existed in the world. He was sure none would be foolish enough to leave a name like that. This certainty came from the fact that even if the old man of the Kalwaz Galar ignored the disrespect and mocking that the intruders left, the maker of that vault would certainly not sit idle. Although the entire Artisans Association was behind the creation of the vault, the main contributor to its creation was the chairman of the Artisans Association. Dexter Wright was the only person who had mastered rune crafting and reached SSS rank while honing his talent in smithing. Even the sword that Nathan was carrying was made by Dexter Wright. But right now, instead of being furious, Dexter Wright was surprised. In a room filled with various mana crystals and many mana gems, a single man was concentrating on the runic formation he was creating. He stood 6 feet 8 tall, with broad shoulders, black hair, and hazel eyes. The 7 heads are requesting a meeting, a man wearing a long coat spoke respectfully, stopping the man in the middle. Tell them I am busy, he replied with a raspy voice. As you wish, the man turned immediately, knowing how short-tempered Dexter Wright was. These fools, nagging me when they failed to protect the damn vault themselves, Dexter muttered as he examined the runic formation before him. It was the same runic formation he had sent one of his assistants to analyze and bring what it looked like. Ads by Pub Future. He was informed about the heist the day it happened, and knowing that his creation was being mocked, he was extremely furious at first. But after looking at the runic formations before him, he could see that it had not been breached. Is Cumden Whiteheart lying? He had his initial suspicions, but seeing that none of the major security runes were triggered made him realize that was not true. Then how? Dexter asked himself as he raised his hands. and various runes started floating in the air before him. He was intrigued by the method those unknown intruders used. Normally, he would be working on his next project, but he stopped everything to study the method Asher had used. But he was making a fatal mistake in his analysis, which was the fact that Asher already knew about the unique mana pattern that only Kamdan would have known about. At the ranker's dorm on the 10th floor, Asher was no longer sitting. He mimicked his battles and used the mana to push his body to its limits. But doing this required a high level of control over his mana. If Asher made even a single mistake in his mana circulation, his mana meridians could be damaged. Such risks arose because Asher was using a lot more of his mana than required. But, slowly, his body was becoming attuned to his D+ rank mana core, and he could feel that his stamina and endurance were nearing the 100 stat points. The 4th day passed, and the 5th, and Asher did not stop to drink or eat anything. His body was tired, but it didn't matter. Unlike his mana doping method, this way of training didn't leave any permanent damage to the body, but he could only do this because his mana core was strong enough to supplement such energy. Finally, the 7th day was over, and Asher stopped, looking at his body, which was red due to the constant emission and absorption of mana. In addition, his blood pressure and body temperature were high. And he could feel pain all over his body because he was exerting more pressure than his body could handle. This should be enough, Asher thought as he clenched his fist. Even without the system, he could feel that he was ready to reach C rank now. He could feel that the tension around his mana core had stabilized a lot, and he could finally expand it and form another ring of mana around it to reach C rank. As he was about to leave the room to take a shower, he stopped when he saw a black snake tattoo appear on his right arm. System calibration done. He saw the text appear in front of him. Beast option unlocked. Asher saw black smoke coming from his arm as he observed a shadow-like creature take the shape of a small serpent. What is this? Asher questioned as he looked at the snake that was only the size of his foot. The shadow opened its eyes, revealing two blood-hued irises, and looked at Asher. Asher didn't know right now that the creature he was looking at was the true form of the system or was supposed to be the true form of the system. Unlike normal snakes with scales, its whole body was covered with cloudy shadow energy. Host has unlocked the authority of unlocking system's sentient form. Sentient? Asher asked as he looked at the text in front of him. This is a shell of the system's true powers which will grow with the host. Although you were not supposed to have it until you reached level 50 and weren't supposed to know about it until you reached level 40. The system truthfully informed Asher. Asher was still confused as he looked at the snake before him. Weird, Asher thought. For unlocking the authority so early, you will also receive a skill that is a part of your bloodline ability. As the system informed him, he could see the shadow dissipate as it returned to his arm, and he could feel black cloud-like energy shielding his mana core. Mana Conceal gained, Contemporary Romance. Mana Conceal. This is not a skill but an ability that allows the host to mask and lower your true mana core rank by 2 major rank. It was an ability with no rank, meaning that it was similar to a trait that a being possessed. At the same time, Asher looked down at the floor. The snake materialized again before him, its eyes staring at Asher. But this time, the strange creature looked past Asher for a moment. It was still formed from strange, shadow-like energy and was very different from any snake-type creature Asher had ever seen. But before Asher could examine it more, the shadow energy disappeared. It will take some time for the beast to properly materialize before the host. Putting the beast reward aside, for now, Asher looked at the skill he had gained. This is interesting, Asher thought in his mind. At the same time, the system materialized on the same floating island inside a temple-like building. Behind the big doors covered with strange runes, Deep inside a place that no being of this world had ever reached, a figure opened its eyes. Did I sense that correctly? A voice came out of that figure. It disappeared. The figure closed its eyes once again and fell into slumber. What's the limit? Asher asked, looking at the skill. Will it work on anything? He queried. Although the skill itself was good, as it allowed Asher to hide his true rank up to 2 major ranks, it was a well-known fact that concealing your mana did not work on hunters of a higher rank than you. This meant that Asher could hide his mana core rank from Damien, but he would fail in front of anyone who was C rank and above. The techniques that Asher knew about concealing his presence became useless if he was not using them every time he met someone higher ranked than him. It was simply not feasible to do, as he could not conceal his presence at all times to hide his true rank. Even in that case, such techniques stopped working on S-rank hunters and higher because their mana sensitivity was way higher. However, this skill would work even if Asher was standing in front of an SSS rank hunter like Nathan Greville. If host is talking about dungeon restriction, yes, you could enter such areas as well. Unless you expose your mana yourself, it will be impossible to recognize your true rank. So I can stay at D rank when I reach C rank, Asher muttered. Even though he was ranking up at an insanely high speed, he knew that he could go a bit faster, but doing too much could draw people's attention. Contemporary romance. Status, attribute, Asher said. Fate Devourer system. Name, Asher von Raven Greville. Level 30, EXP 0, 30,000. Bloodline, Devil's Absorption rank SSS. Cursed, Curse of Fate, active. Body Constitution, Mana Core rank D+. Adds by Pub Future. Attributes. Strength, 118. Agility, 110. Endurance, 105. Intelligence, 180. Mana, 119. Stamina, 99. Charm, 65. Fate, 10,230. AP, 60. SP, 32. Asher didn't question the system anymore as he went to take a shower. He needed to give his body a bit of rest before he decided to start the process of ranking up. Taking a shower, Asher went and took some healing potions that were B rank to heal any sort of injuries that might have occurred in his body during the process. Asher went and ordered some food from his ID bracelet as he needed to eat something before he continued training. It was late in the afternoon, and his food arrived shortly after he ordered it. Sitting down at the table, Asher took a bite out of the meat dish in front of him. Every food that was served to the students of the Ranker's dorm came from expensive herbs and C rank or above monsters. Asher finished his dish and removed the plates from in front of him. Normally, Rankers could have staff members serve them, and some of them used such facilities, but Asher avoided it. He wanted to keep people away from his floor as much as possible. After that, he went inside the room and finally opened the small case where the mana gem was. He took it out and placed it in front of him. The process of ranking up was simple. He just needed to form another ring of mana around his mana core, and at the same time increase the density of his mana core to the maximum amount his mana rings could handle. It was a slow process that would take a few days as one needed to be very careful in this process. But Asher had another problem, and it was the effects of Rune of Aeirdan. As Asher closed his eyes and started the process, the mana from the mana gem came out and started to revolve around Asher's body slowly. Asher knew that his body was still a bit tired, so he was not pushing it too much right now. The initial process was something he could slow down until he felt he was ready for it. Taking that mana inside his body, and moving it towards his mana core, Asher started the ring formation process first. Asher began the process as he encased his body with his aura and pressured the mana to obey him. The threads of mana revolving around the mana core came together as they formed a circular shape around the mana core. Unlike D rank, Going to C rank and above required more time as the mana pool increased, and so did the amount of strength in your body. It was not only a process of increasing the rank of your mana core but also strengthening your whole body at the same time. In C rank and above, a harmony between the mana and body of the hunter was required. It was a basic principle that was taught to everyone. And it was especially useful for non-mage hunters. Unlike the previous time when the increasing amount of mana was overwhelming his body and he felt like he was submerged in a lake. This time he was using his aura to strengthen his body and hold that mana inside him. This was evident as Asher was absorbing a lot of mana at that moment. Not only was he forming a new ring, he was strengthening the existing one as well. The amount of pure mana coming from the mana gem was immensely helpful as there were no impurities in it. Asher disconnected his senses from the outside world and started focusing on the mana that was circulating around his body. Hours went by as Asher's body kept absorbing the mana inside the C-rank gem. He wasn't wasting any amount of mana, and due to the fact that his body was strengthened by his aura, he could handle this for so long. Not only was his aura strengthening as well, but it was also helping him increase the quality of the ring formation that was taking place. It was the morning of the next day when Asher completed forming a ring around his mana core. Now, he moved on to the next step, which involved filling his mana core to its limit while strengthening his body. Host's mana heart is strengthening. Closing square bracket. Sitting down with his eyes closed, Asher was pushing a large amount of mana inside his mana core while trying to increase its density. The mana rings around his mana core started to revolve even faster as he focused on pushing his mana core to its limits. The effects of the rune of Aearden were going to start soon, as Asher was nearing the completion of his mana rings. The room was filled with mana as Asher kept trying to force his mana core to consume more pure mana from the crystal. Host's mana heart is strengthening. Closing square bracket. He had received several such notifications till now. It was already the second day, and Asher could feel that he was nearing the completion of his mana core. His whole body was feeling the burden from his mana core and the amount of mana all around him. Host has increased his mana core from D+ right pointing arrow C rank. Rune of Aearden is activating. Host's intelligence is negating the side effects. Closing square bracket. Side effects partially negated. It was a similar but denser feeling than last time. Lost in his concentration, Asher felt multiple memories flash towards him. But due to his high intelligence stat, the effect of Rune of Aearden was partially negated. However, Asher was still experiencing parts of his life as memories kept flooding in. Rank 1 goes to Kevin Whiteheart. Xander announced as a handsome, white-haired boy walked up to the stage. The top 10 were 1. Kevin Whiteheart, 2. Matthew, 3. Licia Halcyon, 4. Elena Rothschild, 5. Sam Allister, 6. Amelia Greville, 7. Eva Williams, 8. Damien Seymour, 9. Alan Astaria, 10. Vanessa Baker. Many of the students present cheered for him. Kevin was well known for his good personality among the first-year students. Contemporary romance. So, these are the first-year rankers, Xander announced as he briefly looked towards a boy sitting in the front rows. Ads by Pub Future. With black hair and crimson-red eyes, it was easy to distinguish Asher from other students. Asher noticed Xander's gaze but he ignored it. He looked at the stage where the rankers were standing, and among them were Amelia and Damien. It's boring, Asher thought as he stood up. Is he mad? Some of the students started talking among themselves. I mean, even his younger sister is a ranker. Talks like these were happening, but Asher ignored them. But he still managed to claim a spot in the top 15. One of them said, for someone who had recently awakened, it was impressive for him to secure a spot in the top 15. Where is he going? Damien muttered as Amelia's attention shifted towards Asher, who was walking out of the hall. She was going to congratulate Kevin, Elena, and Eva but stopped as she looked at Asher. She felt a bit awkward seeing Asher leave the room, and like others, she also thought that Asher was not feeling comfortable seeing her and Damien on the stage, unlike him. She was about to speak with Damien about this but Elena's voice stopped her. Amelia, congratulations. She held Amelia's hand as Eva and Kevin also approached her. Yeah, you too, Amelia replied with a courtesy smile. We were going towards the Ranker's dorm, do you want to come with us? Kevin asked Amelia with a smile on his face. But, she turned and looked at Damien. I am going outside for a bit, but if you want to go with them, then it's fine, Damien replied as he went after Asher. Come on, come with us, Elena saw the opportunity and grabbed Amelia's attention before she could talk with Damien any further. Outside the hall, Damien was going after Asher when he saw Asher standing in front of a pink-haired girl who was in her wheelchair. Seconds ago, Asher was leaving the hall when he saw Alyssa, who was going back to her dorm after seeing the ranking list. She was in the top 20, so it was a good thing, but her goal was to become a ranker. But seeing herself fail broke her a bit. She had failed to win in the representative tournament and now she didn't make it in the top 10. Is this all I can do? Alyssa said to herself as tears were forming in her eyes. These days had been tough for her, constantly being belittled by Alan and other students, and sometimes even the professor would treat her like the rest of the students. Anger and frustration were building inside her, but she couldn't do anything at all. Voices in her head kept screaming at her. It was getting difficult for her to even sleep properly as nightmares kept haunting her. A drop of tear fell on her knees when she noticed Asher, who was standing beside her. What do you want? Alyssa asked after clearing her throat. Asher's emotionless eyes kept staring at Alyssa, who was confused as to why Asher Greville was staring at her. She knew about him because he was the heir of the Greville family and many people, even her class, talked about him. Nothing, Asher said as he turned and went his way. She looked at his back and saw a brown-haired boy coming his way. Alyssa kept looking at his back for a few more seconds before she went her way. What are you thinking? Damien, who had caught up to Asher, asked. That girl was weird, Asher muttered, but Damien heard it. Wasn't she Alyssa Astaria? Damien said as he looked back. Did she say anything to you? Damien asked, but Asher didn't reply as he kept thinking about something. Hours went by and Asher was in the VIP dorms and started training. Weird, Asher described his thoughts when he saw Alyssa. He had only recently found a way to suppress his inner urges, and it was when he went for a dungeon exploration test where he had killed various monsters. His headache calmed down a lot and he felt relieved when he killed those monsters. Not completely, but it helped him greatly. Every time he would look at someone he would feel nothing about them. It was a strange feeling, but that made him feel that he was different from everyone around him. Something in his instincts told him that he was meant to be alone. His life would remain grey as it had been. And this was the reason he had left the hall, because he was not finding it interesting, and his inner urges and headaches would increase, so he simply left as he felt that it was a better choice. And when he saw Alyssa, who was crying alone, it felt strange to him. He didn't notice it completely, but his mind became a bit clearer. And he was not getting that estranged feeling from her that he got from everyone. This was the start, Asher's consciousness that was seeing these memories thought. The memory changed and it was the classroom where Professor Dahlia came in and announced the 3 test results. What? Asher Greville is rank 1 in theory. Many students were shocked, but the one who was most shocked was Eva. And you all have chosen your subjects, so. Professor Dahlia started her class. How? Eva clenched her fist as her mind got distracted from the class. She had always thought that academics were her strongest point. Kevin and Elena saw that Eva was a bit upset with her results. When Professor Dahlia left, Eva stood up and went towards Asher, who was about to leave. "I will beat you next time," she said to him, and Asher looked at her. "Can I go?" he asked as he stood up and looked down at her. Asher had realized that he was different from other people, so he avoided people as much as he could. Taking Asher's word as mocking, some students started giggling, making Eva feel a bit embarrassed. "Why are you being so rude to her?" Kevin asked as he went to defend Eva. Asher's emotionless eyes stared at Kevin for a short time. Annoying, Asher thought. "Don't waste my time." Asher went past Eva and Kevin, ignoring their questions. "Why is Dalton Rothschild here?" one of the masked men asked. "Get ready to leave," Tom shouted out loud. "But what about the boss?" one of them asked. "Don't think about things that you cannot help with," Tom replied as he ordered them to retreat to the place where they could set up a temporary teleportation gate. In the air, Dalton saw a black blade collide with his blue sword. "This damn sword," Dalton muttered as he could feel his aura depleting. Asher's bloodthirst was spreading all around him as he looked at Dalton. "Do you think you can defeat me?" Dalton asked as he pushed Asher back. Asher didn't reply as his indifferent eyes stared at Dalton. "This will be your end, boy, and I will end this filthy bloodline with my own hands," Dalton said as he raised his sword in the air. Fortunately, they were far from the actual site where all of Zephyr's members were, so his attack wouldn't harm them. "Do you think you can kill me?" Asher asked as he looked at Dalton. "I will," Dalton replied as water droplets started forming around his sword. He was conjuring one of his elemental sword techniques that was so powerful that he could even destroy cities with one of his attacks. "Ruler of Mana," Asher muttered. "What is this skill?" Dalton got alerted as he could feel the changes happening around him. "You want to end my bloodline?" Asher asked as he smirked. Dalton, who was in the middle of executing one of his techniques, felt weird as the mana around him was not responding to him properly. Being a SSS rank hunter, he could feel this much more clearly than others. He was in Fascia when the World Association asked him to help them kill Asher Greville, whose whereabouts were just spotted on this continent. This can't be. Dalton refused to believe that such a bloodline ability would come out of the S-rank bloodline that Asher had. Every piece of information about Asher and his known abilities was made public as he was one of the most wanted criminals in the world. "Your ability is powerful, but sadly, I am not a mage." Dalton gripped his sword as he conjured his aura, which formed a shell around his body. "I will show why we SSS rank hunters are called humanity's pillars," Dalton said as he disappeared from his place. Far from their fight. Ads by Pub Future. Tom was looking in the direction where the noises of explosions were coming from. Whenever their swords struck each other, the ground below them would shake. "I hope he doesn't use that." Tom knew about Asher's abilities, so he was hoping that he wouldn't use it. "Shit. Where's Nate?" Tom kicked the ground. After 3 hours, Asher, who had wounds all over his body, was walking towards the temporary teleportation gate. "Is it ready?" Asher asked, looking at Tom, who was still waiting for him. "Yes, boss, but did you?" Tom spoke as he looked at Asher's condition. "Dead. They will like my gift." Asher spoke, but his killing intent was making it hard for Tom to even breathe right now. Tom looked at the black veins that were reappearing on Asher's hand. "I need to find Nate, he cannot die yet." Tom had his own reasons for following Asher. They were entering the teleportation gate when Asher looked back and felt the presence of another SSS rank hunter, but it was much more powerful than Dalton. "You were late," Asher smirked as he entered the teleportation gate. The moment both of them entered, the teleportation gate exploded, as Tom had set it to destroy itself so that nobody could trace their coordinates. "This can't be," a man with silver hair and deep amber eyes spoke. "S. Silvers. Dalton weakly spoke as he recognized the voice. His hands and legs were already cut off and his own sword was piercing his heart. It was a miracle that he was still alive in this condition. Did he reach SSS rank? Silvers asked. And no. Dalton couldn't see anything as his eyes were filled with his own blood. He is killing himself. Dalton muttered. We made the wrong choice, tell Osberg. Dalton couldn't complete his last words, but Silvers looked at his condition. You made the wrong choice, everyone did. Silvers couldn't help but say it. I warned Farnes before that the records of the past were warning us, Silvers muttered. Until now, Asher Greville was only considered an SS rank hunter, so Dalton going after him was enough. But him succeeding in killing a SSS rank hunter was something nobody had thought would be possible. The memories shifted from when Asher defeated Dalton to the time he was still bidding at the auction. Do you like that blade? Damien asked as they were sitting in the ranker's room. Asher was invited by Damien to attend the auction with him. Yeah, Asher replied, but he bought it without thinking much about it. It was one of the things he thought were worth the investment. The auction came to the last bid, which was a ring-finger armor-looking artifact. Things got heated, Damien said as the bid war between Leonard Tervian and Raylan Whiteheart was quite long. I will go back, Asher said as he stood up. Okay. I will join Amelia then, Damien got up as well. Amelia was attending with the student council as she was the first-year representative. Asher was walking out, but he was stopped by one of the senior-year students. You are Asher Greville, right? The senior asked with a polite gesture. Yes, Asher replied. Well, Leon wanted to meet you for a small conversation, he said, looking for Asher's reply. Leonard Tervian. Asher thought in his mind. Not now, maybe later, Asher replied as he was not in the mood to chat with another person right now. Okay. The senior knew that he didn't have the status to stop Asher, so he couldn't do anything about it. The memories changed again as Asher was sitting in front of Leonard, who had invited him to the Blood Faction building after the auction had ended. Pleasure to meet you, Herr Greville, Leonard greeted Asher. Pleasure is mine, Asher returned the greeting with his emotionless face. I will come straight to the point, as you look like someone who doesn't want to waste your time, Leonard said. Would you like to join the Blood Faction? He asked with a smile on his face. I would like to reject, Asher replied immediately. May I ask why? Leonard didn't give up just yet. I don't feel like joining yet, Asher replied as he got up. I will provide all the support you need inside World Academy, even Kevin Whiteheart, I can help you overtake him, Leonard said. Why would I want to overtake him? Asher asked. He can stay at rank 1, I don't need it, Asher said as he left the room. Leonard smirked as he saw Asher leave. Contemporary romance. So he will not take the bait. Interesting, Leonard said to himself. Well, I am in no rush either, Leonard said as he remembered the plan his father had told him when he joined the academy. Asher was heading towards the research block, as he had taken a subject that was related to potion crafting, and research around various ingredients that were used in it. It was a subject that none of the first years chose. Only people in their third or fourth year would choose it, and that was only if they were going for a subject to increase their theoretical grades in. Asher entered the room and saw a pink-haired girl who was sitting alone in the class with a book in front of her. Did she choose this class as well? Asher thought as he took the seat closest to him. Both of them were sitting in the empty class far from each other, waiting for the professor to come. The professor entered the class and saw only 2 students present. Asher Greville. The professor was surprised by Asher attending a class that no first or second year student usually attended. Well, I am Fernando, and I teach potion crafting, as well as the formation of items or drugs from various plants and other substances, Fernando introduced himself. But as you know, this is a research subject, so you have to study independently from the books I will give you, and perform tests in the examinations, he explained, looking at Asher. Like many other professors, he was also ignoring Alice's presence. So, I will give you the recipe for this healing potion. You can make it from these ingredients, you just need to form a report about it, he said. Remember, no practical work until second year. Only those who pass the theoretical part at the end of the year can learn practical aspects from us in their next year, he clarified. So for the two of you, I will first explain. The class went by as Asher and Alyssa learned about various properties of plants and monster parts used when making a potion or drug. And this is all we will learn today. The next hour you will be making notes and choosing your research topics, Fernando said. It's not compulsory, so it's up to your own decision, he added. You can discuss among yourselves or work independently. Move to the next classroom where all the books you will need are already present, Fernando concluded the class and left the room. Initially, he was uncertain whether to leave the heir of the Greville family with Alyssa, but, seeing that he hadn't mentioned it, Fernando explained the rules as they were. Asher was the first to stand, heading into the room full of books containing information about various plants. But he wasn't interested in those books, he was searching for something else. He was trying to create a calming drug, something that would numb his mind. He had discovered that killing monsters helped, but it wasn't a sustainable solution. As the heir, he knew his responsibilities were heavy: contemporary romance. As Asher searched for books, Alyssa entered the room as well. Why is he here? Alyssa's dull eyes observed the tall figure perusing the books. It was strange for someone who could afford all the potions in the world and hire people to create things for them to take such a subject seriously. She initially waited for Asher to return and take a seat, but, seeing that he was still leafing through various books, she decided to select one for herself as well. Ugh! Alyssa clenched her teeth, channeled her gravity magic to lift herself up. But doing so was painful for her body, and this was the reason she joined this class. Knowing that she hadn't become a ranker, she wanted to research the potions that could aid her. If she made it to the advanced course, students were given extra budget and supplies for their own research. In the vast room filled with bookshelves, the two of them were quietly looking for things to help themselves. Asher selected 3 books and moved towards the reading area to study them. He had done a lot of research before joining the World Academy, so he was pretty knowledgeable about the stuff. Ads by Pub Future. This will not work, Asher thought, looking through various properties of these plants. Some of them were grown, but some were only found in specific dungeons. Such materials were also very expensive, but that depended on their uses. Alyssa sat across the table with 2 books, one about healing potions, and the other about pain-killing drugs. Days passed without either of them speaking to each other. Both were focused on their own research. But Asher would occasionally glance at Alyssa, and he started to notice that, strangely, his inner madness subsided whenever he was near her. But it was not only him. Even for Alyssa, seeing Asher was strange. Kill, die, kill her, such voices kept echoing in her head. But oddly, whenever she was near Asher, the voices slowly started to fade, the closer she was to him. Unlike Asher, who was perfectly fine and could perceive these changes clearly, this was not the case for Alyssa. Her body would suffer when she used her mana, and even mana circulation was a huge issue for her. But it was her will to avenge that kept her enduring it. Even though she would hear people mock her and her mother's family, she remained quiet and held herself back. It's not the time, Alyssa would always remind herself. She knew she wasn't powerful enough to exact her revenge yet. But her determination was enough to endure the excruciating pain she felt whenever she went through the process of ranking her mana core up. Alyssa was turning the page of the book when she heard a voice. It's useless, Asher stated. It was the first word he had said after attending the same class repeatedly. Alyssa looked up and saw a pair of emotionless eyes staring at her. What do you mean by that? Alyssa got a bit defensive, but she knew her limits. She had experienced such situations enough to know what would happen. Knowing Asher's background, she knew that even if he taunted or insulted her, she could do nothing to him. She clenched her fist, controlling her emotions. Asher noticed her reaction, preparing to reply. The book you are reading, it's useless, he pointed at the book. This was the first time Asher had shown interest in what someone else was doing. His whole life, he hadn't cared about others' actions. His life had remained monotone, but this time something felt different. And Asher wanted to explore exactly what was different. Alyssa looked at the book, a bit confused. It was the first time she had heard him speak to her after he had seen her crying. But you don't even know what I'm researching, Alyssa retorted. I can guess from the books. That was their first conversation. Asher didn't know why he intervened, and Alyssa didn't know why she could talk like this with Asher. It was the first time she had conversed like this with anyone inside the World Academy. And that person was the heir of the Greville family. Alyssa despised elite families, and it was obvious that she wouldn't like the heir of one of the strongest elite families in the world. Weeks later, Asher would converse with Alyssa a few times, but it was always about the subject. Their conversations always remained topic-centered and never went beyond that. Their classes and courses were different. Except for this class, Alyssa never encountered Asher within the World Academy. After 3 months, Professor Fernando transitioned the class to purely self-directed research until their next examination. Around this time, Xander approached Asher. So, you want to train me? Asher asked as he stood in front of Xander, who had called him over. Yes, knowing your father will not approve, I would like to keep this private, Xander said. And I am offering you this chance because you have the potential to achieve rank 1, Xander continued, showing one of the duels that had occurred. In the duel class, your swordsmanship is impressive, and even the footwork is perfect, he said. And you have reached the peak of A rank already. Okay. Asher accepted Xander's offer. It wasn't a bad proposition for him. Learning from one of the best swordsmen in the world was an opportunity not many people could enjoy. He didn't know why Xander approached him, but if he could enhance his swordsmanship, he didn't mind it. He still hadn't found a solution for his inner madness, but he knew he needed to grow stronger if he wanted to hunt more monsters. Months passed, and Asher stood in front of Xander, observing his techniques. Are you sure you want to show me all this? Asher asked. His eyes remained emotionless, but Xander could sense his potential. It's not as easy to learn as you might think, Xander replied with a stern look. Yet, he knew that Asher would master it, having seen his talent grow before his eyes. If you think it's so easy, then try to imitate this movement technique, Xander suggested. Asher's crimson-red eyes started following Xander's footwork. What's this technique? Asher asked, showing interest. Snake steps, Xander replied as his sword stopped at Asher's neck. In an instant, he had covered the distance between them while suppressing his mana. Try to imitate this, Xander challenged him. And as the months slowly passed, the end of the year tournament drew near.